enjoyed this week's episode, and please like this video, share with your friends and dock mates, and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us get more viewers like you.
So we are taking out all of our aluminum tanks, which used to be under here and used to be under here. And this is basically where you walk down from outside of the boat. Then over here on the starboard side where the settee normally is, when the table is, and storage down here, there's a water tank here. And then same thing over here on the port side of the boat. Come over here. Basically this is an open floor space with nav desk and nav chair and inside steering station right here. And the water tank on this side is right there. We have determined and decided that we're not going to try to save the original aluminum water tanks. They're too gross, too pitted, too corroded, and not worth the repair. We talked about getting new aluminum tanks fabricated up because we know a guy who helped with aluminum projects with the steering system. Chris, thank you once again. But the cost of it would be, pretty high. Also in reading about potable water, drinkable fresh water in aluminum, it doesn't mix very well. The chemicals that are in the fresh drinking water to treat it, to make it safe for drinking, that mixes with the properties of the aluminum and causes that corrosion issue that we saw. We could get stainless steel tanks fabricated up. Besides the cost and corrosion issues, we would maximize our space. But I just can't justify the cost. It's just way too much. So the other option, which I was seriously considering for a while, would be integral tanks. And basically what that means is the boat becomes part of the tank. So on the other side of this is open water, the sea water, the river water, whatever, ocean water. So the idea would be that your water would fill this space, and air quotes, all you'd have to do is go up from here, over, and then down from there, and then create a lid. So best case scenario, we would just need to build up and then put a lid on it. So it sounds really good, and for some boats that might work. I don't think it would work in this boat, and here's why. We have structural bolts down here that kind of squeeze all this stuff together. So all this cabinetry and this structural bulkhead here, it's all bolted together through these bolts. Also, if you notice here, there's a hole for drainage here and a hole for drainage here. And so if any part of the deck to hull joint or the chain plates that begin on this side start to leak, the water needs a place to go from up and there down. And you can actually see the stain marks of how the water has run out here. It does need to function as a drain. Pro number one, they utilize all the available tank space, or space in your boat for tanks. Pro number two, if you get punctured here in your hull, it acts as a watertight crash bulkhead. Con number 1, time. It's gonna take me so much time because you gotta sand this. All this is not potable waterproof or potable paint. So all of that would have to come off. Every single bit of this gray paint would have to come off. We'd have to sand it all the way down to bare fiberglass. Then you build it up with epoxy and probably a couple layers of fiberglass, just for good measure. And then if you have a food grade epoxy that is FDA approved, that'll be fine. Or you can paint the interior with a special food grade safe FDA approved paint. So that's you gotta get this nice and clean and safe. Also, you would need to, of course, build baffles because you can't have this giant water just sloshing around in the boat because it will, it could break things. If you heeled over fast enough, it could break things. So you'd have to build it very, very sturdy with a lot of baffles. So it's just a lot of time. And, we want to get this boat done. Well, it's never going to be done. Let's just make that clear with a boat. It's never going to get done. So the best option for us at this point is actually going all plastic. So polyethylene, virgin linear polyethylene is what is FDA approved, and it's food grade safe, like straight out of the factory. So don't have to worry about prep. They are basically pre-made. So how this is made is there's a mold that is fabricated, and they can reuse that mold hundreds and hundreds, maybe even thousands of times. And so they can basically suck the plastic onto that mold to form this shape, and then do it again, do it again, do it again. So these are really cheap to mass produce. Well, cheap in boat terms, so air quotes, cheap. So the plastic tanks can be mass produced, so they are relatively affordable as compared to custom tanks. And the primary downside is, though, you're never gonna find a tank that, unless it was already from the factory made for your boat, you'll never find a tank that utilizes as much space as custom tanks or integral tanks. So this tank was original to the boat. That's basically how it was in the boat before. So look at all that space there. We could bring it out to right here to account for the fittings. And then all of this wasted space over here, if the tank just kept on going, we would get more water over here. It was honestly, it was a tough decision. I really, really like the idea of integral tanks, but I can't do it. It's too much time. So we're going plastic, and what that means is I gotta find tanks that maximize our space. So they don't corrode, they don't leach any chemicals that we know of. And they're cheap, light. You don't have to worry about rust or corrosion or anything. You do have to support them. So because they are not structurally strong as metal, you do have to support the complete base of the tank. So we will have a whole support down here. So yeah, that's the plan. So now what I'm doing now is, I'm thinking I'll reuse the old tank because it's perfectly fine. And then because these tanks down here, this one and then this one that goes under here, they're gonna be smaller than the tanks that we pulled out. That's just a fact. I cannot find a tank that will fit this space perfectly. So they're gonna be smaller. So now it's about minimizing how much tank capacity we'll lose. or potentially gaining. So I did find for this side, a 47-gallon tank. For this side, I think I have a 53-gallon tank. And then up here, that one's a 30. And so what I can't find is a long skinny tank that goes from here all the way back to here. And essentially this is wasted space back here. The tank ended here for the old heating ductwork, but we're gonna route ours differently. So the idea of this space just being wasted, there's nothing that goes here. It's basically wasted space. I want to use this space to maybe do like a tank, another tank that starts here and goes over and goes up and kind of fills in this space back here. So that's the plan. And then we'd have 4 tanks, and then hopefully the volume of all those 4 would equal or exceed the volume of the 3 tanks that we originally had. Or maybe it's close, right? Maybe within a plus or minus a few gallons. That'd be nice. So anyways, that's the plan. Just gotta take a lot more measurements, and yeah, we'll go from there. It's been a lot of time getting to this point, and I really want to finish taking measurements because I want to clean this build. It's so gross. So hopefully I'll be able to get started on that tonight, but we'll keep you guys updated as we go.